Hi there, and welcome back to Hungary. I want to talk to you about some composting options when it comes to paper, specifically the things you get from the store, tags, um, little things that your food comes in, because this is important because some things don't compost very well. Firstly, I wanted to talk about these kinds of manuals that you get with chainsaws, things. From my opinion and my understanding, the only issue with this is this area where it's actually glued together. Everything else, you rip it correctly, that is fine. It doesn't have too much print on it, and from my experience, this is okay to compost. Second thing is these little bits, these gum containers, the chewies, whatever you want to call them, these should not be composted because this outer layer it's coated in some sort of plasticky coating. So in the past, I have put these in the compost, but sorting through the compost, I have found things like this after a year that just still remain. So while it probably will compost down in a few years, it's just not worth it. So if you have the option, burn this, don't compost. The next thing is this packing paper. This is excellent. Compost this. Paper towels, tissues, as long as they're not contaminated with oily things, so actual oil, greasy things, then compost away. These are not going to cause any issues. They compost really fast, they break down really fast, and do that. Next thing, if you have a cat or animal and you get the food inside of these kinds of things, don't compost this. The outer layer, this here, has massive amounts of prints and ink, and this is not good. If you want to take the time to rip all of this inky stuff off, the inner part of the cardboard composts very well, but it does take a while to strip it of all of this. So I don't do that. This is a very it's tissue compostable. Another one of these. This one right here. So this tissue, I use this to wipe some grease off of my bike. So I will not be composting this because I don't want that grease to get inside of the compost and contaminate that. So that is going to be either put in the proper trash or thrown in the burn when I'm burning stuff. Next thing is these guys here. So this is a flour bag. These are lined with some sort of waxy or plasticky residue just to be able to keep the moisture out of these things, which is a very important thing, to keep moisture out of your flour and out of your oats. But this does give it some sort of resistance to breaking it down. It does take a while to break down, so it does eventually break down. But for me, I would prefer not to put this inside of my compost because I don't know exactly what is on this. The fact that we're eating our food from this is slightly concerning. And this also has a bit of glue on the very top. So this is all going to be burned. This is another thing, these loud, crunchy things. So this is the packaging from pastries. So when you get a pastry from any store, you get it in usually this. It sounds awful. Ugh. But this is also lined with some sort of wax, and it doesn't compost down well. It should be burned instead of composted. I will never put this in the compost again. The next thing is something like this. While this one feels a bit more compostable, a bit more cardboardy. I don't want to take the chance that there's anything on this. This brand, the Hester's Life, not sponsored, by the way, it is a quality brand, and it does focus on quality stuff, but I don't know what's in the packaging. So to be safe, I will just burn this instead of composting. The next thing, this kind of stuff. So this is for medicines or vitamins that you get. This is some sort of medicine. I don't know where it's from or what it is, but this is lined with plasticky stuff. It's very smooth, and so this has clearly been treated, and it's not gonna compost. Or it will eventually, but I don't want this in my compost bin because, again, after a year sorting through the compost, it still remains. There's still remnants of this kind of stuff, and it just doesn't break down very well. So, burn pile. These guys, as far as I know, these are not treated in any way to prevent the composting of these. So I always either use these as makeshift planters, but I've never had very good success with that. So I don't mind sticking these in the compost. Receipts. This is a very interesting thing. I recently was doing a lot of research on BPAs and the microplastics in all of our foods and our everything. And come to find out, receipts are ridden with BPA. The ink that they use is just littered with BPA. So I hate touching these things now after learning about that. If you're interested about that, there's an interesting podcast from the Diary of a CEO where this lady talks about BPA, and it's kind of scary how much this is in our everything. But this will never again go in my compost pile because I don't want these microplastic BPAs in my compost. Will it break down eventually? Probably. Will it take 20 years? Most probably. So this is going to be in the burn pile. And receipts burn really, really quickly. It's like flash paper. It's really weird. Tea bags. I am not 100% sure what these are, what can these contain, but I'm going to be on the safe side and not put these in the compost. If you don't have a fire to burn these in, by all means put them in the compost because I don't think it's going to impact it very much. But if you're desperate for compostable things to build up your pile, put these in. But I'm not going to. These are going to be put in the burn pile. And at this point, that's pretty much all I have to touch on. Aside from, we all know those boxes that you get from Lidl, Aldi. These things. I did a video on these a while back about how to break them down to use them in compost and as a layer to prevent weeds. The main thing is to remove all of the glues and everything because they do break down fairly well. They do a good job. I don't believe that they're lined with anything nefarious aside from these labels. But if you leave them out, honestly, in the rain and the sun for 2 or 3 storms, the cardboard begins to shrink, and these things are so much easier to remove once they've been rained on and dried out. So if you need a little hack, a little tip to removing all of these things, just put the cardboard out, let it get wet, let it dry out, and you're good. So these are going in the garbage. Not burning, not anything, but the boxes themselves are useful for putting in the compost. I like to rip them up if I'm putting them in the compost because it breaks down just that much quicker. And that's what I have for you. A few tips on what to compost when it comes to paper. Obviously, I don't know everything, but this is what I've learned so far. If you have any ideas or any tips and experiences based on anything paper going into the compost, let me know, because the comments section is where we all learn the most, because we are sharing our experiences. So leave a comment below if you like this kind of content, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. So, viszontlátásra, and goodbye.